Good morning and welcome to our bank reconciliation training for Dynamics 365 Business Central, or BC as we refer to it. For those of you who are still using NAV, the processes will be very similar, but there may be a few differences. For the presentation today, I'm going to be using the role of the business manager. So let's have a look at our agenda. So I'm going to start off looking at the bank reconciliation and how that all works in standard BC. And then we're going to introduce you to the new feature of bank deposits. And then we're just going to have a look at the MicroChannel advanced banking extension, and then also just make you aware of the bank fees that you can now have within Business Central. So let's start and let's look at the bank reconciliation. So basically when we're looking at the bank reconciliation, I'm going to show you how to populate the bank reconciliations using standard BC features. Obviously, you can then import your bank statements. We'll then match them and obviously just post the bank reconciliation at the end of that. So there's not a lot to do within the bank reconciliation, but we'll just go through all the various options. So let's get started. So first of all, to do any bank reconciliation, you need to have your bank accounts. So I've just gone into cash management and clicked on my bank accounts. Again, if you use this as a popular or an option to use a lot of the time, don't forget that you can bookmark it here. So again, here are all my bank accounts. If they're running in a different currency and I want to reconcile them, I obviously will set them up with the currency code. So let's have a look at what I've got. So to set up a bank account, really all you need is a bank account code. The name of the bank, you can put in your branch number, you can put in your bank account number, and obviously it has its balance here. Now, the main thing that's important is you need to have a bank account posting group. And in my case, I've called it CBA, and that will link through to my CBA general ledger account code. Again, if you're doing EFT and creating EFT transactions, then obviously there will be a section for the EFT where you put your details in. I do have the MicroChannel advanced banking extension set up, so this area may look slightly different for some of you, but the main important part is to put in your EFT bank code, security name, transfer description. So once you have your bank accounts set up, the next thing to be doing is actually just posting all the transactions through. So let's go and have a look. So once you do your journals, and just please bear in mind here, for your entries to appear in the bank ledger, not in the GL account, but to appear in the bank ledger, on the entry on the journal transaction, you must have the balancing account as a bank account, not the GL account. So if you say GL account and 2950, it will just appear in the general ledger. I do need to say my balancing account is the bank account and it's CBA, and then the transaction will appear in both. So how do we do bank reconciliation? So in this case, this is coming off my cash management menu, or you could actually bookmark this as well. So I go into the bank account reconciliations. And if you haven't started one, you would just click on new. I've already started one, so I'm just going to click on my one B010. And that's now going to open up and I can now start. Obviously, you've got your statement number will come through. You put in the date that they transact that for the statement date. So obviously I'm doing mine to the end of May. So I've got 31/05/22 there. The bank last statement will actually come in from the last statement that I've done. So for statement 3, my ending balance was that particular figure. And all you need to do is type in this new statement ending balance. In this case, for statement 4, that is the balance on my account there. Now, there's several ways of actually getting the statement lines in here. And one of them is literally just to come in and type in the actual, download your statement and you can enter the transaction manually, in which case I'm just putting in bank fees. But for some of you, that will be a lot of work to do. But for some of you who've got minimal transactions and you don't want to import bank statements, you can add these in. At the moment, I'm just going to get that line and remove it. So that's the first option, is to manually add the bank statement lines. The next one you can use is process, suggest lines. So what this will do, it will go and look at all the entries on the bank account ledger side and come up with what it thinks should be on the bank statement. So for some of you, this might be quick and easy, and just go through, put your starting date, put your ending date, and click OK. So this will now go through. It'll look at all the entries on the bank account side, and then it will create the associated statement lines for you. And it will also match them automatically at the same time. So this particular one here of the School of Fine Art would have most probably matched to this one here. And it looks like it has been. And again, I can always look at the details by clicking on matching and match details, and it will actually show me all the details where they've been matched. So sometimes you may have one entry on the bank statement side and multiple entries on the bank account side, and it will show you which one it has actually been matched to. So in this case, if I've got one transaction here and it's been matched with several, by going into matching and match details, it will show you where everything has been matched off. So once you've got the statement entries in by using Process Suggest, you can actually have a look and see. As you can see here, when I move my cursor around, if you look at the balance here, what you'll notice is it's taken the transactions from the balance of last statement plus and added in the minus 30, the minus 20, the 337, and it's given me that balance. So you can see as I move my cursor along or down the rows here, that balance will actually change. And when I get down to the final balance, 9619.81. So the balance here is depending on where you've got your actual cursor. But the total balance is all the transactions that have come in. And on this side, if we hadn't matched something, it would actually put it into there as a difference. And that would be that figure there. Now this needs to be 0 in order to balance. And the total balance figure needs to equal your statement ending balance. If they don't match, then it won't actually allow you to do your reconciliation. Again, if you had just entered transactions into there and then you wanted the system to automatically match for you, you can go in and say match automatically. And it will then say to you, well, what are your tolerance days? So in this case, my tolerance might be 1 day. So if I put or posted a transaction, so customer's paid me today, he's walked in, he's paid, I will then process the transaction today, but it may only come in and get into my bank account tomorrow, but I still want it to match up, in which case I'm saying disallow for 1 day tolerance. So the difference between the 8th and the 7th, and if there's a matching value, it will match. And then you can just say, okay, and it will automatically go in and match up your transactions for you. So that's 2 ways of bringing in your lines on your statement. One is to manually add them. The other one is to let the system do it for you by saying suggest lines. The third option is to actually go into your bank account, download the bank statement, obviously into an Excel file, CSV format, and then you can go import bank statement. At that case, you will obviously save that file on your system somewhere. You can then select choose, go and find it in the relevant folder, highlight the file, and then it will, and click on open, and it will then bring the bank statement in for you. So that's the third option that we have using standard BC. So to bring the bank statements in, it's manually suggest the lines, and by using suggest, it will automatically match, or you can actually import the bank statement. And as again, and when it comes to matching, as we said, we can automatically match or manually match. Now, if there's things that you have matched and it was incorrect, you can also just highlight the lines and then come into matching and remove the match if you want to. Now, the other option that we have is sometimes you may have entries on your bank statement, and let me just enter one here for you, 3105.22, and I'm going to go bank fees May 2022, and I'll put in there minus $15. Okay, as you'll notice, I've now got the difference of 15 because it hasn't been matched or applied to any transaction on this side, and you can see the difference down there. At this point, because I do have a difference between the two values there, I'll just quickly show you. If I go post and post, it says, do you want to post the reconciliation? It will tell me that the two balances are not equal, and therefore I cannot reconcile at this particular point in time. I just needed to show that to you while I had the difference. So I have this particular entry, which I've manually entered, but now I need to go and actually post those bank fees into the system. So I could call up my general journal and go and actually do a transaction. But from here, I am actually able to go in and say, well, transfer this to the general ledger and at the same time put it into my bank ledger. So by clicking on that, you now have the option, which general journal template. So again, you can set one up. Most of us are just using our general one. And within there, there's a general journal batch. Again, if you wanted, you can set up a default batch for ones that are coming in from the statement. I'm just using my default one, or one here called bank. And then you'll notice my balancing account here is my bank account. So remember, if you don't put things to the bank account, it will only hit the general ledger. It will not appear in your bank ledger. So once I've selected those two, I will go OK. And it will actually open up my general journal, and it will open up the batch name called bank. At this particular point, I can then come in and put in my bank fee account if I wanted to. Let's go and look for bank fees. There it is. The transaction's in there, and there's my balancing account as well. Now, what I like to do is I always like to preview my postings. And the reason for this is just to double check I got my debits and credits the right way around, and also just to make sure the right accounts are going to be hit correctly. So here I've got $15, and that's going to go off to my bank fees account. And then I'm going to be crediting my CBA bank account in the general ledger. But remember, this is the balancing account is the bank account, and therefore the entry will be created. So once I'm happy with that, I can post the transaction. It says, do you want to post them? It's obviously posted them. And I can now go back in, and you'll now notice there's my bank fees. And if I come down, there's my bank fees. So it's created the transaction for me, plus it's also done the reconciliation for me. So once I've got all of that information in there, I can then come in, and once I've done all my checks and balances and made sure everything's correct, as I said, I should be able to post my bank reconciliation. Again, it's not equal. So again, I need to make sure it's equal. So I need to come back to the 9619. Now, maybe I have incorrectly entered my balance, but at any point I can go back through my transactions, and you'll notice I'm looking for a figure here of 9619. I'm not sure if I've actually got that balance right. What I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to put in a new balance here of minus 9634, just so that I can show you the posting. Those two figures now agree. Everything should balance, and all I need to do is post. And I can now just post my bank reconciliation. Right, that's gone. And now you'll notice that from my bank account reconciliation list, that my reconciliation for B010 has gone. If I now had a new statement, I would just start again, put in the bank account, and you'll now notice it will move to statement 5. And all I need to do at this point is put in the new date. So in this case, it may be Friday the 3rd of June, and put in the new balance at that particular point, and then I can start all over again. If I want to go back and actually have a look at that bank reconciliation, there's 2 ways of doing this. One is going back to your bank account, going into your bank account. There it is, bank account statements, and then that's showing me the last 4 statements. The other way to do it is to actually go, you'll notice within cash management, there is an option there called bank account statements. So I generally use this option. I can go to bank accounts, and you'll see every reconciliation I have ever done will now appear in here. If you want to use the filter, you can, and then I can just filter it. If you've got multiple bank accounts and you just want to see the reconciliations for that bank account, don't forget you can use the filter there as well. So this is the one I want to look at, and I can then print that out and preview it. And this is just a sample of the standard bank reconciliation printout. So I can see there's my bank account, there's my statement number, the statement date, I've got the balance of the last statement, the ending balance, I've got my GL balance, and all the necessary balances on this side, along with everything that went through. So that's going to be the standard bank account statement printout, or the reconciliation report. Again, if you wanted to undo, or if you had done the bank reconciliation and it was incorrect and you wanted to redo it, this will actually undo that reconciliation, and then you can start again and redo it with the correct information. So remember, to undo a reconciliation if you've made a mistake is to come through to bank account statements and undo. So really that's doing the bank reconciliation within Business Central. And as I said, just please don't forget, you need to use the bank account, not the GL account. Next thing I want to show you is a new feature that has been released in the 2022 Wave 1 update. It's called bank deposits. They typically or bank deposit is really typically used to deposit cash, but deposits can also come from customer payments using checks, or maybe cash refunds from your vendors, or cash payments to your vendors. And once you've done your bank deposits, which can be found under cash management, all those ones can now be found using the posted bank deposits. There is a bit of setup required to use this feature, and I'll just go through a couple of those. Basically, using the bank deposit, what it will do, once you've posted it, it will actually update the general ledger, and it will also update your sub-ledgers, such as the bank account, the customer, and the vendor ledgers. So let's go and have a look at the setup requirements. So the first thing to do is create a numbering series. So I created a numbering series called BNK Deposit, obviously BD0001 through to there. And again, when we then have to go through to the sales and receivables setup, and they'll have a new section there called bank deposits, and you just put in this numbering series. And then you need to choose whether you want to post your bank deposit as a lump sum entry, or whether you want every transaction on there to go through as individual items. That's really the only setup that you need to do. The next thing, there's one more thing you need to do, and you need to basically set up a general journal template as well. So I set up one called bank deposit, and then underneath there, I created a batch, just bank deposit. And again, I'm just using the general cash receipt journal numbering on that particular side. Once that's been done, all you need to do, let me just now go and show you how you can actually use this. So there's my bank deposits. It's just an option under cash management. So I can click one on there. I've already started one, but to do a new one, you would just click on new. And when you do that, you will just put it in, choose your bank account and the amount of money that you're depositing. Like I said, generally, you're taking the money out of your petty cash or your cash account. So if customers are coming in and paying you cash, you'll obviously register that and put it into a cash account. And then when you're ready, you will obviously go down to the bank and take the cash and bank it. And really all this is doing is replacing a journal, which will take it out of the cash account and put it into the journal, but they're just using it more as a bank deposit. And again, there's the dates that you've put in. And again, I've just put down here my general ledger account and I'm taking it from my petty cash and I'm going to be crediting my petty cash with 200 and obviously it will deposit my bank account with the 200. Now they've also given us the feature. So if a customer walks in and pays us with checks, you can actually come in, put in the customer's code. This is obviously a payment, the invoice, find the actual invoice and put in the amount that they're actually paying. So instead of doing a cash receipt journal and putting the money into like a check account, a check holding account, and then doing the transfer later, you can now do that all within the bank deposit slip. The only thing you will need is a document number. And in my case, I've just used the date going backwards. So once you've done that, all you need to do is, again, you can do a test report and that will show you what's going to happen. And I'll just make that a little bit bigger so you can see. So here we're just depositing into this bank account. That's my general ledger cash and there's my customer account that I'm paying. Now, one of the other options that we did have was to show the application. So in this case, when you say show the application, it's just showing you a bit more on the actual invoice side down here. So that payment was actually applied to this particular invoice. So those are the options you're going to get on the bank deposit slip. So when I'm ready, all I need to do is post. Do I want to post it? Yes, I do. Right. Okay, so I've missed something out in my journal, which I need to go back and fix. But what we can do is we can also look at, if I come into the cash management, there will be, this is one that I've done before. You can come in and look at your posted bank deposits. There's one I've done in the past. And there it is, money that I've taken from my petty cash was 100,000. And in this case, I've taken the one from Sale Land and they paid me 114. So I've basically deposited that full amount. And then if I wanted to, I can print this out. If you wanted to go back and reprint the document, you can. So that's the new feature called bank deposits that's now available in BC in the latest version. The next thing we wanted to show you, some of you will have the advanced, the MicroChannel advanced banking extension. Some of you may not. For those of you who don't have, we thought we'd just highlight it to you. So basically what we've done is we've replicated the EFT side that comes out of the standard BC. We've also gone and developed something for BPay. So it has basically been developed so that you can apply or use the BPay feature for both your customers and your vendors. So for the customers, they can use the BPay to pay you. And what will happen is you will give them a unique reference, which you can then print on their invoices and statements. The customers will then obviously go into the banking system, go and pay you via BPay using that unique reference. BPay will then provide you a file of all payments made by your customers, and then you'll use the cash receipt journal to import that file, and then you can process the transactions. For the vendors, very similar. You would indicate which vendors you're going to be paying using BPay, And then you'll use the payment journal to actually create those BPay transactions, which then creates a file. Then you take that file and you'll upload that to the bank. So that's what we've developed on the BPay side. On the direct debit side, if you automatically, or if you have customers who automatically, well, where you will raise direct debits on their behalf. So they'll say to you, every month, go and take $100 out of my bank account to pay my bills. Or whatever I owe you, just go and take it out of my bank account. So you'll indicate, so this is customers paying you direct via direct debit. Again, please note this is for local currency only. This is not for anything involving foreign currency transactions. What you'll do is you'll use the cash receipt journal to create a suggested list of payments owed by your customers. Once you've gone through that, you'll then create a file, upload that to the bank, and then basically what the bank will do is they will then take the money from your customers' accounts and put it into your account. So that's the direct debit feature. And the last one there is the reconciliation entries. Now, for those of you who are not running the MicroChannel Advanced Banking extension and would be interested, please contact your account manager, who will then organize one of the consultants to discuss your requirements with you. But what I'll do is I just thought I would just show you some of the features that you need to, or options that you'll need to set up. So obviously there will be a new feature there, or a new option called EFT and DD setup. And again, this is where we choose the numbering systems, you know, what kind of do you want to appear on the references when it's a EFT or a direct debit. If it's a BPay setup, we've then got to say, well, it's BPay, you know, we're using customer references, what's the check digit rule? So there's just a few things on that side that your consultant will go through with you and help you set up. Obviously, on your bank accounts now, you will have the advanced banking section. And this is where you would then fill out EFT. If you were going to do direct debit, which bank code it will go into. You've obviously got your BPay payment side, and you've got your BPay receipts. So all this information will need to be set up on your bank account if you're going to use the extension. And on the vendor card, again, you'll have a new tab down there called Advanced Banking. So that's if they're paying you, or if you're paying them by EFT, you'll obviously fill out that information. But if it's going to be you paying them, then you will fill out the BPay side. Maybe you will want to do both, just depending. Same on the customer side, you'll get a new option here called Advanced Banking. And you can fill in the direct credit or the direct debit and all the information along with your BPay receipt. So if there's a reference there, that's the unique reference I was talking about that you'll then print onto the various transactions. And this is where on your cash receipt journal, so this is for customers, you'll see they can either pay you by the BPay or through direct debit. So these will be new options that will appear in your system. And again, on the payment journals for the vendors, when it comes to BPay, you'll have a new option here called BPay payments. And again, you just tell the system to go and suggest. You'll obviously finalize that list and then create the BPay transfer file. Same principle applies on the customer side in the cash receipt journals. So that's the BPay and direct debit that you'll get. The other option as well is when you're bringing in your statement, you can get the system to create some journals for you automatically in the background. So on my bank account here under Related, you'll get advanced bank account statements set up. This is where you'll need to work with the consultant to set this up. And this side, you need to put in a transaction code. Now, please note that these are not correct. This is just me messing around in my demo system. But you'll need to put the right transaction code. And then you'll say which debit account that it will be a general ledger account. And in this case, so when the transaction code equals Lynn Clean, We just know we're going to be debiting account 8110. But if it was Rent Inc., we then know that we're going to be crediting our rental income. And this is where it's creating those extra journals for you in the background while it's also reconciling at the same time. So those are just some of the extra things you'll get if you decide to use the MicroChannel banking extension. The last thing we wanted to talk about or just briefly mention is bank feeds. There are options for bank feeds. While there is no direct bank feeds within Business Central itself, there is an option at the moment, but there's going to be another option shortly. So the first one is to go onto Microsoft App Source, and there is a extension there from someone local within Australia where you can actually get all your bank statements automatically fed into the bank reconciliation, and then all you need to do is just go through and process that. So there is one option on Microsoft App Source. The other one will be coming from MicroChannel. It's on our roadmap as a feature, which will be part of our banking extension, and that is coming soon. I can't give you any dates at this particular point, but all I can tell you is that we are developing something and it will be coming in. And I said the bank feeds will bring in your bank statement lines automatically, so you don't have to go and download and bring them in. Again, if you are interested in this, please contact your account manager and discuss your requirements with them in more detail. So that's what we wanted to show you today, was just how the bank reconciliation works, the bank deposits, which is a new feature, just what's inside that MicroChannel advanced banking extension, and just to mention the bank feeds.